There's this new indie horror game that I don't see getting a lot of attention, but in the week that it's been out, I have found myself coming back to it every night, especially because the jump scares put me to sleep. Let me explain. It's called These Darker Tides. It's made by Pixel Drip, and it's one of those Five Nights at Freddy's type games where you view monitors and wait for jump scares. There's nothing wrong with adapting a working formula, and These Darker Tides does work to differentiate itself. It takes place in this underwater station. Your job is viewing monitors and fixing cameras to protect deep-sea cables from threats like sharks and communism. There are 3 distinct story modes, each offering different gameplay mechanics and its own flavor of indie horror. The first one being an Onryo ghost lady, the second involving mermaid creatures, the bad kind of mermaid with the head. The head part is the fish part, but the bottom part is also the fish. And the third story, while unfortunately feeling a little rushed in execution, probably tells the strongest narrative in terms of connecting with the game design. It's about this sort of Cold War paranoia where you're protecting data from submarines, but then it takes a twist both in gameplay and narrative. Pretty neat. Each version of the story starts out the same. You're shown a monitor with some text explaining a little backstory, and I mean very little backstory, as well as the gameplay mechanics that change with each story mode. In every version, you'll have to clean these camera lenses and then perform a special task, like changing a hard drive or clearing out a virus. The game takes place over 6-ish days, the first day usually introducing you to horror elements that become more fully fleshed out on the second day, and then each subsequent day further adding to that sweet indie horror story. So yeah, in ghost mode, your co-employee finds a haunted doll, which makes a ghost lady start appearing on your cameras, and then eventually in your station. Mermaid mode I think is pretty self-explanatory, and the last story takes everything in a different direction, with the final days taking place outside your station. The part that makes These Darker Tides so interesting is how the game implements gameplay mechanics to fit different horror tropes. The mermaid and Cold War story both set the mood as more eerie and unsettling, with only a few jump scares here and there, but the fear in the mermaid story comes from confinement and isolation, whereas the Cold War story is about vast expanses, both on the ocean floor and the great beyond. The Ghost Lady Onryo story though, the one that most people will probably play first, that one goes pretty hard in the tropes. It's just full of fast, flashing jump scares left and right. Seriously, so many jump scares. So many jump scares. Yeah, okay, something that's never happened to me before. In the first game story, not only did I just get completely numb to the jump scares, the constant repetition of the flashing and screams and popping up on my screen. This hypnotic rhythm became soothing. That's right, we finally have a jump scare game you can fall asleep to. So yeah, overall I really enjoyed These Darker Tides. There were a few bugs during my playthrough, but the dev has been pretty quick to patch these. It is a lot like all of the other FNAF-inspired games, but has enough to set it apart and make it its own unique experience. I think the 3 modes was a unique undertaking that paid off really well overall. So for that reason alone, I think These Darker Tides is a game worth checking out. It's $8 on Steam when it's not on sale. If you're into indie horror and or just a big fan of these games, I think it's definitely worth checking out. Otherwise, yeah, probably wait for a sale. And if you like this content, please consider giving this a like and sub. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.